Hello, welcome to Microsoft Community Insight Podcast, where we share insights from community experts today with Microsoft. I am Nicholas, I'll be your host today. In this episode, we'll dive into insight to impact, the power of Azure OpenAI Essentials. And then before we get started, we'll remind you to follow us on social media so never miss an episode and help us reach more amazing people like yourself. Today, we have two special guests, the return of Bhuvi and the first of Amit. So, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure, but we're gonna go first.
Sure, thank you. Thanks, Nick, for having us, and thanks, Amit, for being the perfect partner on this. I'm Bhuvi Vatsey. I am part of Security Growth PM team working on growing our security products.
Awesome.
About yourself?
Yeah, so I've been with Microsoft for the last 3 years, and before that, I was in AWS. And my main role is more on helping customers for building their generative AI applications. So I've been part of healthcare industry, so helping all of my healthcare peer provider and pharma customers for building agentic AI, generative AI at scale, including securities, making that highly scalable in generative AI applications, different models, whatever you name it. So that's my pretty much role I'm playing in Microsoft.
Okay, so I remember we met each other in for the first time. I met at Bill, and you showed me your book that you written about Azure OpenAI Essentials. So we just want to dive into it. So, what inspired you to create that book?
Yeah, so I think this questions, in fact, I also thought when I start thinking of writing a book, what exactly motivates me to do that one? And, it's not something this idea to write the book overnight came on me.
Yeah,
As we serve the customer, we see that lot of understanding gaps because this technology is new. And when we have a Microsoft has partnership with OpenAI, there are a lot of things to uncover, right? And also the discover. And then we found that not only our customer but also within our technical field community in Microsoft, there are a lot of things they have some sort of understanding gaps. So we thought, because I'm serving in this role, so I thought why not I can having ad hoc calls with customer, ad hoc office hours sitting internally, to give and reskills our peoples and our customer. Why not I can combine all these things in a very systematic manner in a some sort of books approach, and that might be helpful for a customer to digest. Now the question is, why not blog, why book, right? It couldn't
yeah,
done in the blog too. What I think that blog is definitely a great medium to risk kind of an evangelize your skills or knowledge to the world. But the reason I go to the book because I really want a very structured approach, because I'm not a kind of a disciplined person where you can put every day, every certain amount of time. When you go
yeah,
to the blog, it's in your own ways. You can put your time, and maybe one weekend you sleep and don't write anything. Nobody cares, right? But when you sign up for a book with a publisher, they have a very tight agenda. They have a very strict timeline. I need to follow that one. And I thought it make me discipline if I go on that route rather than a blog. Both is absolutely either way you can take. I mean, anybody can take it to evangelize their skills, but I thought book will be more systematic, and it made me systematic rather to write something and put it in a very concise way so that I can give it to the world as well as my customers and my technical sales communities, and that's all motivates me to write the book.
yeah. So, Bhuvi, has you're almost the first person who wrote the book, no, read the book. What's the experience of the book so far?
Yeah, the experience has been phenomenal, and I will take this opportunity to elaborate on some of the aspects of the book. But if you look at the contents of the book, as Amit mentioned, it is
Yeah,
very systematic, which is very hard to find in a general format like a blog. But in this book, especially, it is highly valuable because it is very comprehensive. It starts with the basic, but it caters to a persona of many from different areas. For example, it could attend to people who are, let's say, just newcomers into the field of AI and explain the basics, what LLMs are for, what does prompt engineering mean, and all of those basic stuff. And once that basic ground setting is done, then it delves into practical applications, how the users would enable themselves to harness the AI capabilities and solve real world problems. And the problems that are picked in the book are very agnostic to maybe just tech. Maybe you want to just create a movie recommendation chatbot, or you want to create some multi agent scenario which is just refining some visual images from Dali. So those kind of real world scenarios got me really hooked into the book and always wanted me to learn for more. Then it's a lot of hand holding as well. I felt that if there is somebody who is nervous, oh, I don't know
Yeah.
how am I going to proceed with that, then the book goes step by step in explaining you those details. For example, if you have not done much of Python coding and you are not sure how would this particular use case be done, the GitHub repository takes you to step by step navigation that, hey, install this, this is your prerequisites. It kind of covers all corners for you. And then in terms of scaling it, so in later chapters, it scales it to very much in terms of enterprise ready solutions. So it talks about the security aspects of it. How do you make sure that your content is moderated, there's no abuse? How would you make sure that if there is any OpenAI scaling that you're looking for, and if your capacity limits are reached, how would you implement kind of load balancing strategy with APIM? So all these are really essential techniques that should be discussed along with the best practices that the book covers. So I'm really thankful to Amit for putting all this together and giving our communities such a well approached and strategic way of learning AI.
Yeah, it looks like an amazing book because it starts from someone that's beginner to
Yes.
AI, to AI to like intermediate know what they're talking about. So, I mean, going back on the book when you wrote the book, is there any challenges that you came across that you had to face when writing the book as an author?
Yes, so I would say that two things. First of all, I'm a family man, two kids, and my
Yeah,
wife. So that challenge is always there. You have to carve out some time out of your normal, regular kind of an hour. So that's a big commitment that time, right? And second thing, I would say it's not a challenge. I would say writing a book is a learning process for the author too. So
yeah,
sometimes we think that uh, without something you write in a paper, forget about book. Anything if you write in a blog or paper, you have to
yeah,
do your own research, right? I mean, you can talk something, but when you write something, it's completely different angle. So when I write the book, and some of the things even I didn't know much details on that. So I did a research, and I went as part of the research, I learned a lot for those things when I putting into the book, because putting into the writing something, you are technically liable to what you are writing, right? So that learning process helped me to learn many things. That's one thing. Only the challenge, as you stated, timing is a big challenge because we are all full-time employees and in Microsoft helping our customers, and it takes long hours and long weekends and early mornings, late nights. That's the only one challenge to managing the time. And last but not least is making yourself more enthusiastic on the book. Sometimes I feel sometimes that when I'm writing the book, maybe half of the chapter gone, and I found that, oh, it's taking too much time. Let's leave it sometime. I
yeah,
had
yeah.
that kind of an syndrome created inside me, and then I say, oh, no, 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 let's half is done. Let's remaining few chapters. Let's complete it. So that's self motivation, and nobody gonna motivate you at that time. You are the only one in the battle, and you have to you know kind of fought that battle and to get to the end. So that self motivation is very much required along with the time management. These are the two primary sort of challenges I had, and for everything finally get through that to get to the end goal of the book.
How would you know if a chapter is finished? Is that when you run out of like knowledge, or you?
So that's a very good question. So actually, this book actually, in fact, I have this book in my hand. So
Yeah,
this book actually, the publisher is Pact. You can see here. So when you start the reaching out, Pact basically reach out to me to, can you write a book on that one? I say, yeah, that's a very prominent topic, and no book is there in the market. And as part of the process, they have a requirement that how many chapters need to be there, how many total pages need to be in the book, and each chapter what would be the number of pages, right? So around 30, 40 chapters is a very standard one, and close to 250 to 300 pages overall the book has to be. So, and if you go beyond that, sometimes they do review, they do a lot of corrections, and they say, hey, it's going beyond, make it short. If it is too short on this particular chapter, the number of pages, they say, okay, increase more. And we expand more on that. So they have a very strict sort of layout, and we try to follow that layout. And that's where we want to concise the knowledge within those chapters and that much of pages.
Okay. Bhuvi, from your experience in reading the book, what's your favorite insight that you or take away from it?
Yeah, two actually couple of insights, but I can probably touch upon on few. The first thing that I wanted to call out was Amit didn't assume that the community might know something for sure.
Yeah.
So when you were talking about the challenge, Amit, I think maybe one of the challenge you might have experienced was not to assume anything, like
Yeah,
going right from the ground. And
right.
that reflects when I'm reading through the book because every concept is explained. So that was amazing insight for me. Another insight was that stuck out for me was, as I explained earlier too, that there are many hands-on exercises that you can do and you can go along and follow along. It's like you don't have to assume, like Amit didn't assume that hey, they would have these certain things installed. No, he is kind of showing all the steps that are included, even for the movie recommendation. If it's an external website that you need to have some kind of subscription or be a member of, even those kind of granular details are laid out. And the best part for me was the reference architectures. For any situation that Amit and the co-author has picked, they have given simplistic reference architecture that explains how the system is moving from one part to another. As a reader, that takes all the nervousness out because you don't have to imagine anything much. You are given out the kind of scenario, the way the solution is moving, and you can visualize it right in the book itself. So you don't have to search separately, go out and say, hey, I read this term in the book. Can you explain it to me so that I go back and resume my reading? Those kind of situations are taken out.
Yes, that's very well said, Bhuvi. And yeah, that's one of the challenge. When I start writing the book, I said, should I write this paragraph or not? I mean, I know, but then somebody showed me, think about you are a reader of the book. When you write a
Yeah.
book, always think you are a reader of the book. And that's where you're gonna see that way you can overcome the challenges. Because if I think on the author angle, I might think, hey, this paragraph or maybe this chapter is doesn't require, right? But if in a reader angle, it might be required. And I start thinking on that way. And then I find okay, this maybe it is a very basic information, very simple information, but maybe reader doesn't know that, right? So I put the reader's shoes, and sometimes it's very hard to be very honest, right? What things you really want to put that into the book, even though you are not, telling for one reader. This book is going to be for many, many readers. Some people are very knowledgeable, some people in between, some people are very basic. So that balancing these things was definitely a big challenge for me.
Okay, so I noticed that there's some like practical experience in the book as well, like demos as well. So does it include like things that you can do on the portal, things that you can do on scripting, whether it's Python as well?
Yes, yes. So this book definitely covers, and I think Bhuvi already gone through that. We have total 13 chapters, and I think
Yeah.
6 or 7 chapters kind of practical, and another 6, 7 chapters kind of theoretical. So, and these practical chapters, we don't want to dump in everything at the beginning of the book, and also not at the end. We want to make it somewhere in between. So, first 3 chapters, we'll see the starting the foundations of the generative AI language models. What is Azure OpenAI? They give some details, and then we'll go some practicals and the very end, which is more for the enterprises like prompt engineering, more on scaling, enterprise security, which is may not be the people's gonna be initially needed. Maybe they need it for the enterprise settings. So we put it at the very end so that it's gonna be complete. And each practical chapters has, as Bhuvi said, has a reference architecture. It has step-by-step guide. If something need to be done from the portal, it go through that. Also, supplemental GitHub links are there. They can go and take that GitHub links and implement by themselves. And it even go more granular. Like if somebody doesn't have an Azure OpenAI account or even Azure
Yeah.
subscription. How are you going to create a subscription for that? You're going to go all of that. So it doesn't need to be person has to be in an Azure. They can a person anybody doesn't even touch any in their life in Azure. They even can take this book and implement these solutions by themselves.
Okay, yeah, that's brilliant because it's for extremely beginners. So if someone were to, how many, so for each chapter it's got a demo, practical experience. So if someone gets stuck from reading that book and trying from a demo, is there an answer sheet or something people can use?
Not
Or
an answer sheet, but if somebody go through the theoretical chapters and then go to
yeah,
the demos, they will
yeah,
get a complete sense. If somebody doesn't know
okay,
anything about Azure and they directly go to the practical chapters, they still can get that, but they will not understand what's going behind. So, for example, we have some services because we talked about definitely Azure OpenAI, but we cover other peripheral services to build that demos, right? So you need to have some understanding on those peripheral services, which is not covered in the book, but this book is more on the OpenAI service. But if you go through that basic 3 chapters of the OpenAI services, what is that, and some advanced topics, and then you go to the demo, you will pretty much understand how this demo works or how the practical works.
okay, brilliant. Bhuvi, if as a community member or someone that read the book, uh, what do you think Amit could improve, like from today, if you were to redo the book?
Yeah, definitely not redo, but if we, because AI is changing, there's so
Yeah,
much happening on a daily basis. I just want to shout out one thing that the book really covers at the enterprise scale, especially chapters like privacy and security and operationalizing Azure OpenAI. They cover in great detail on how AOAI does service compliance or content filtering, and also how could you provision quotas and limits. Everything is very well structured. What I would like to see more is how the multi agent orchestration and the agentic AI frameworks, which of course are becoming more and more adopted now. So maybe now is a good time to add those frameworks like MCP, A2A, and also advance the chapter that touched base upon this agentic multimodal multi agent framework, including those frameworks, and also have more practical examples of autogen and semantic kernel, because yes, the book talks about them, but maybe with more enterprise ready solutions coming with these frameworks, it would be a great add on to this book, in my opinion.
I 100% agree, Bhuvi, on that one. In fact, Pact has reached out to me, hey, would you be like to write a second version? And
Awesome.
I said, yeah,
oh,
not this year. I'll separately write. And
yeah,
this book doesn't cover anything about agent, as Bhuvi and Nicholas, you
yeah,
might have seen that one. Because when I read the book, agent was kind of all in talk. There's nothing was there much. But yes, second version, I will more cover on the agents and A2A and MCP, how to build an agentic AI. All these things we're going to cover in a more advanced. And that time, I'm assumed that somebody has already gone through this first version of the book and then
yeah.
going to the second version of the book, which will go a little bit advanced. And I don't have to assume much that time because I'm assuming they have gone through this. So yeah, definitely good shout out on that one. Definitely, that's the plan to cover in the second version.
Okay. Amit, you said you wanted to show us some cool demo of the book, sneak peek. Would you
Yeah,
like?
so I will let me share my quick screen, and I'm a dual monitor here. So is there any way I can share the screen? Yeah.
You just present. There's a
Oh yeah,
bottom one is saying present, and just share your screen or window.
yeah, screen. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, can someone, like, if we were to get a book, is it only a hard copy or someone can just have a digital
Oh
copy?
yeah, good to mention that one. So this book can be they can take it's basically sold in a two medium platform. One is the
Yeah,
Amazon or
yeah,
in the directly packed website. And this book right now, I think there's a 40% discounts in the packed website. So
yeah,
instead of paying 49.99 in Amazon, you can pay around $35 or something in directly in the packed website, or you can buy through an Amazon. Amazon does provide a digital copy as well, but
yeah.
packed I believe they do provide only the hard copy. So
Mm.
depends on the reader's preference. You can buy a digital copy or a hard copy either through Amazon or through packed website for the hard copy.
Yeah. Otherwise, you could convert it into audio, so people instead of reading, they can just listen to it.
Yes,
Just like in Kindle and stuff.
Yeah, so
Quite
I
useful.
got my book from Pack directly, and the best part about is that there is a play it function on Pack website. There's a summarize it function, and also there's an AI assistant. So
Okay,
that works wonderfully on that platform.
right. Okay, awesome. I will just quickly give a quick sneak peek of the book, some of the things. So, for example, first thing is let's go. Um,
You may have to zoom in your screen a little bit,
oh, is
Amit.
it okay?
Yeah,
Let me.
yeah, that's it.
Is that
Oh,
fine?
that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, so first thing is that once you have an Azure subscription, and I have already explained how to get that account created and all that. So first you go Azure OpenAI, right? And here you can just create the service of Azure OpenAI service, so which I already created one. So you click on the create, and once you click on the create, it will ask you some details for your subscription details, what region you want to host the service, your name of your service, and the pricing tier. Typically, it's only standard zero, so that's it happens. And there are some network sort of settings like I haven't put it here. So let's do with this some group here. Let's say accelerator. I'll put some name test and standard zero. And then you go to the network settings. In the network settings, you have that option whether you want this service to open to all network. In this book, I have choose open to all network so that you should not have any sort of problems. But you, for enterprise settings, you might have an options to concise that service to a VNet and maybe a subnet, or maybe you want to completely block some sort of public access and you create a private endpoints. All these things are available and it is explained in the book too. And once you create the service, then you go to the next tag option. So if you want to tag this service, you can tag that, and after that you just review and submit it. So I'm not going to submit because I already have one created. So once you do that one, then you will have something like that. And once you create the service, then you go to that actually AI Foundry portal for OpenAI. And in the Foundry portal, you will able to do a lot of kind of an kind of a cool demos you can create. The first thing, which is basically this is just an existing service, right? And you need to now deploy the model on that service. And for that, you go to the deployment sections of that Foundry, and there are different Azure OpenAI models you can deploy to. So, for example, if you want to deploy um, any GPT model, so you can go there and you can say, I want to deploy GPT 4.1. That's the new model, came up few months back. So that model you can click on that, and then it will tell you that what kind of a deployment type you want. And there is a different deployment types. For example, you have a global standard, which is basically it's kind of an there are two type of pricing. I would say that two type of ways you can deploy the model. One is a pay as you go, means you pay by the tokens, and another is the provision throughput, which is a dedicated reserved capacity to the customer, and they can maybe require low latency, high throughput. That settings they can use this one, right? And it is explained in the book too. Each of the categories has standard, global standard, data zone, and standard. Standard is not available for 4.1, but global standard data zone is basically tells whether you want compute capacity within the US regions as a data zone standard, or you go anywhere in the world. That's called global standard. And once you select that specific category which way you want to deploy it, and you can customize how much TPMs you want to get it, and it can go up to 1 million, and some enterprise settings can go more than that. And here you can define a content filter. Like for responsible AI, you don't want some abusive content go to the model, or some abusive content coming out of the models, and you can do that through a content filter. And by default, Microsoft provide a content filter, but you can create your own content filter to safeguard those models. And once you deploy it, you will have something like that. And then you go to just to quick test out. You can go to the chat section, and in the chat section, you choose the deployment, which where you can define instruction, which is nothing but you are telling the model what exactly this model need to do or need to behave, right? So you can say your helper assistant find the informations, and you can put whatever the instruction you want. And then in this here, in the user query, you can type the question. You can say, um, what is generative AI? If I ask these questions, then this is called prompt, and that goes to the model, and that model give you back the response. There's an output, and that is given by the response. So it talks about some of that, what is generative AI means, and this one is here you see that it is giving this information based on the knowledge the model has. It doesn't go to the web, right? But there is a ways you can use this model to go to the web through a tools calls and all that, and those are part of basically the agent service, which is not explained in the book. You can do that, but this is easy way you can literally go ahead and deploy the model and use that model and start experimenting that output, right? And there are some extra sections are there. Let's say this is more on based on the knowledge the model has. But if you want that model to be answer the questions based on your company data or your data, you can add a sections called add your data, and in that you can define the data source. What data source this service need to be tagged on, and you can attach that. It's called a grounding, basically, kind of a rack. And we explain that concept in the book too. And there's a multiple ways. So, for example, if your data is sitting into a blob storage account, or you manually upload the file, or your data already vectorized into an AI search, you can tag that, and then you can ask the questions on that. It will give you the answer based on your data, not something model has an inbuilt knowledge. So this easy way you can test these things, and there are multiple tabs are there, like fine tuning. I covered that too, and I also gone that how you do fine tunings. Fine tuning is basically think about if you want to make the model more task specific. For example, if you want that model to do translations or entity extractions or maybe summarizations, a specific task, and you want to make that model specialized on that task, then you can use fine tuning for that. But you need a data set for the fine tuning because we do support SFT, which is called supervised fine tuning. You can use this model, have your own data for prompt and completions, and you can fine tune the model for a specific task. It does provide some sort of guardrails and controls, like content filters, which I talked about, and you can attach that content filter. It does provide custom content filter, and these content filters are mainly four different categories like violence, hate, sexual, self-harm. You can change that settings, how strict you need to be, or you want that particular category to be completely turn it off, or you just say that I want to just annotate that, don't want to block it. All the settings you can do it, and once you create that custom filter, and then you go to that specific models. For example, if you go back here, I do already have a oh, I didn't have a custom filter. So if you create a custom content filter, and then you say that, okay, I want to attach that filter to a specific model. So you go to that, for example, this deployment, and you attach that, then it will be automatically those content filter will be added. So these are few things you can do it over there, but rest of the things I'll not take a hype from it. It's covered in the book. If you go through
Yeah.
that, you got more details. What else you can do over there?
Okay, brilliant. So to wrap up, from your experience, Amit, if you were to uh, give someone advice, if you want to, someone else want to create, publish a book, what advice would you give them?
Yes. So first thing, my learning process, as Bhuvi also mentioned, when you first writing the book, make sure you have a time commitment and self encouragement. Right, this is a self motivation. It's the first thing you need. If you do not have much time commitment and self motivation, you can write the book, but it will be not a good quality, number one. And second thing, sometimes you're gonna leave in between. You say, okay, it's too much effort. So that's very much important. Second thing, you pick a topic which you are master on, right? You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Okay, should I write the book? Everybody's writing in generative AI. Should I go and tap on that? Not necessary. You can write the book which you are really passionate about, right? And that's where the thing's gonna come out. And third thing is that I would say if you are not a very systematic, disciplined like me, I'm not a very
Yeah.
disciplined person, then find a publisher, right, who can publish this book for you. Because when you find a publisher, they will make you systematic. They will give you timeline. They will every time they're gonna knock you. Hey, is it done? This chapter is done. And there'll be a lot of back and forth gonna happen because when you write a chapter, they will review it and they will say, okay, this is not correct, edit it back. So back and forth. editing gonna happen, and make sure you got a good reviewer. Like Bhuvi is a good review that book. When you before the publishing, you need to have a good reviewer who can really same subject matter expert like you, who can review the topics and give you a positive feedback, so that you can incorporate those feedback. So in fact, for me, it took almost 7 8 months to write the book, because writing chapters is not that time consuming, but collaborating with a reviewer, publisher, giving a feedback. Some images are not properly, resolution is not good. So all these things, some cosmetic things you have to know, go through all of that. So those are the three things is very important: commitment, self motivation, subject matter expertise, and discipline. If you have that, you are an author. To
Yeah,
become an author for sure.
yeah, that's true. Bhuvi, did you have to review the book for any like the contents of it before it's being published? Whether it's like just to make sure it's the content, everything is there is quality.
Even in mute movie.
Oh, it's me. So
Yeah, definitely. I have done book reviews in past. For Pact, I did a book review for modernization of workloads onto Azure. So as Amit mentioned, yes, they keep you on task. They make sure that the reviewers are also committing to certain chapters and then staying on track and also complying to the timelines, because it's all packed. They have to get things out the door by a certain timeline. So yes, I 100% agree with Amit that your reviewers have to be also very well aligned and they have to be subject matter experts. So I remember the chapters that I reviewed. I was very close to that part of the technology. I had hands-on experience with that, and then the feedback that comes and the how it inculcates, how Pact inculcates that feedback. I really loved working with them on that experience.
so
Yeah.
take
One
it.
thing I would highly say last statement is, when you start writing the book, don't think about money. I haven't wrote the book for the money, to be very honest,
No,
because this technology book become obsolete in 6 months and the new thing's gonna come up, right?
yeah,
It's just about building the brand and reskilling yourself. So build your brand, and if you that's your things, go for a book writing. If you're writing a book for the money, then don't write a book which is emerging technologies. It's gonna emerge a lot, to be very honest. So
yeah,
this book will 6 7 8 months or maybe a year later, this book will say, okay, need a revision. So at that time, you may not have that many copies sold to get a lot of money. So just as one tips for you, don't look for the money, just build your brand and reskill yourself on the book.
yeah, yeah. And I noticed that the book has been reviewed by quite a few people. There's few like feedback on Amazon as well, and it's been forwarded by Marco as well. She
Yes.
had some like comments on it.
Yes, so he is a VP of the product and in Microsoft, and is called AI Futurist. So yeah, I'm very grateful to him that he reviewed that, given acknowledgement and the forward for that. And my two colleagues, especially DJ Dean, who is also a reviewer of that book, who is my colleague also. He's a fantastic guy, very knowledgeable in generative AI. So very same knowledge like me he has. So he got a chance to review my book. I'm gonna give a shout out to him as well, and definitely Bhuvi, who is doing a post production review of this book.
So I've got a question for myself. So how many times can the author like review the book before it's published? Is that whenever you feel it's ready? It,
So typically, as per the pack, each publisher could have a different policies, but the
yeah.
packs required minimum two reviewers to review the book, minimum.
Okay.
So each chapter is not like that. I have to write all the chapters and stuff everything to the reviewer. I write
Yeah.
maybe first chapter or second chapter. I give it to them. They will run it. I start writing third chapter. They will say, "Come back. Hey, these are the things you need to correct it." I go back and start writing this. Correcting those chapters. So minimum two reviewers is must needed, and the forwarder is not mandatory. They can be as part of the publishing the book, or they can be later
Yeah.
after publishing the book into the Amazon or Pact website. They can give as a forward. But I got fortunate to get Marco's first hand write a forward for me in the publishing process itself. But yeah,
That's
minimum
amazing.
two reviewers is required.
Yeah. So the book is available now, and you can get it in Pact and Amazon. Is that correct? Is there
Yes,
anywhere else
Pact
it's
and Amazon
available?
food platform. Yes.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thanks for joining us for this amazing talk on your journey on writing a book. Hopefully, people have learned how to like you can get a copy of it, start from beginner, and then be more like advanced on the Azure OpenAI. And hopefully, if someone wants to like write a book for themselves, they can learn some of the mistakes and challenges that you had to face, like
Yes.
time management as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Nicholas, for inviting us on this kind of an book publishing procedures and what is the covered in the book. I'll be happy to chat once we come up to the new version of the book. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So when's the new version? Is it next year?
I'm planning for next year. This year is
Yeah.
so many things I need to cover. I'm planning something next year to write the second version of the book.
Okay. No worries. Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.